Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So the FDA is taking steps to restrict the 7-OH opioid products that apparently people are able to get at gas stations. And these act like opioids. And the chemical name 7-hydroxymetragenine, known as 7-OH or 7-hydroxy, can be dangerous. It's a concentrated byproduct of the kratom plant. And it has potential for abuse because it binds to the opioid receptors, acting like an opioid. The FDA is releasing a report to now educate the public about the health concerns and its distinction from the kratom plant leaf. According to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they say today we are taking action on 7-hydroxy as a critical step in the fight against opioid addiction. We will protect the health of our nation's youth as we advance our mission to make America healthy again. So this recommendation, according to the HHS, follows a thorough medical and scientific analysis by the FDA and is one of several efforts to address the agency's concern about the growing availability of these products. There are no FDA-approved 7-OH drugs. They're not lawful in dietary supplements. You cannot add it to conventional foods. And vape stores, according to Marty Makary, FDA commissioner, are popping up and selling these products that have concentrated 7-hydroxy or 7-OH. He says 7-OH is an opioid that can be more potent than morphine. We need regulation and public education to prevent another wave of the opioid epidemic. So apparently people are able to buy this at gas stations, corner stores, and vape shops. And kids are having access to these. Apparently, there are 7-hydroxy products, and it's hydroxymetragenine, the full name, or 7-OH products, in fruit-flavored gummies and ice cream cones. If these are not, shall we say, reviewed by the FDA or regulated by the FDA, there's no accurate label. And sometimes these might be disguised as kratom. And so these are things that are happening. So the FDA is warning companies, warning healthcare professionals, warning consumers. And this kratom, it's a supplement sold as an energy booster, mood lifter, pain reliever. But kratom has side effects too. It's an herbal extract that comes from the leaves of the evergreen tree called the Mitragina speciosa. And the tree grows in Southeast Asia. So kratom users chew the tree's leaves, swallow, brew dry kratom, and extract liquid. But people have been using this in America as a stimulant to give them more energy or make them feel calm. But we're seeing people get addicted. We're also seeing people get sick. Kratom works quickly, and this is why it's gotten so popular. The effects could last a few hours. The more you take, unfortunately, the more side effects you can have. The FDA has warned people not to use it. Apparently, poison control centers in the United States received more than 3,400 reports about the use of kratom from 2014 to 2019. Now, this comes from Mayo Clinic. We don't have data. I don't have the data here going up to 2024. but some people have died. They had high blood pressure, confusion, seizures. They could get weight loss, dry mouth, nausea, vomiting, constipation, liver damage, muscle pain, high blood pressure. And kratom can also cause dizziness, drowsiness, change in smells, hallucinations, false beliefs, delusions, depression, trouble breathing, confusion, and seizures. Being told that kratom products have been linked to a small number of deaths, why aren't these being regulated? And so because kratom is sold over the counter, it's allowing other things like the 7-OH to be marketed as such when it's not. And unfortunately, people are thinking they're getting something that is technically legal and over the counter. So the Drug Enforcement Agency wants to go back to the 7-OH and make it a class 1. Or a schedule 1 for illegality. Like heroin. Marijuana is still a schedule 1, which is kind of controversial. Because on one end, I want us to study it, and I do think there's medicinal applications. On the other end, it is harming people who use them. Gateway drug. We are having people have psychosis. Look at that girl that stabbed her boyfriend 108 times after smoking a bong. So I do think marijuana should be a scheduled drug, whether it needs to be a schedule 1. So that's... But we have people having access to things that are acting like opioids. And if the 7-hydroxymetragenine binds to the opioid receptors, it acts like an opioid. And that could cause later withdrawal, respiratory depression, abuse. And I think what it is people want to feel better. I mean, the olden days, you would drink some coffee or drink some tea. You'd get out in the sun, work the farm, maybe meet and talk to other people. And nowadays, I need to roll out of bed and reach for an energy drink or reach for a vape pen. And it kills me to see how dependent we are. And we're teaching our kids to do that, too. It's funny. When I was in college and medical school, everybody was taking NoDoz. They were talking about NoDoz. I didn't want to take that. NoDoz was, I think, a high-potency caffeine. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to get a heart attack. I was already hyper as it was. Problem is I didn't like coffee. I would force myself to drink it on rounds just to stay awake. Instead, I would drink diet soda a little bit. But honestly, I was too busy and I just kept going. And I think it was my drive that kept me awake. But many individuals don't know about things until somebody tells them. And if their friends are saying, go get 7-hydroxy or go get kratom or, go vape, these people are doing it. And then they get hooked. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, guys. Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious, such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So I get asked this all the time. What is the purpose of the appendix? What is the purpose of the chin? What is the purpose of male nipples? Why do we have things in our body that are not needed, not necessary? Actually, I think they're all necessary. Even male nipples, they have a role. Absolutely, they have a role. So I think we need to kind of get out of our head that there are parts of our body that are useless. Wisdom teeth. People say, well, wisdom teeth are a pain in the butt. We get wisdom teeth and we have to have them taken out. For some individuals, those wisdom teeth are an extra pair of teeth. They're very useful. But for others, depending on our jaw, they may grow in awkwardly or at an angle. I had to have mine removed. They cause headaches. So if our jaws have started to evolve and change, maybe somebody can argue that the teeth aren't necessary, but there's a lot of people that still use their wisdom teeth. So I think wisdom teeth have a role. Appendix, I've told you guys this, appendix is not a useless organ. The appendix does have a role. The appendix is a hollow tube that can house zillions of bacteria. And it's located at the start of the colon in the right side, such that if there is a need for bacteria to colonate, if the small intestine or large intestine, this, because of, let's say you had a diarrhea or a stomach bug or you're ill, the appendix has the ability to house bacteria that can then colonize our intestine. Now, there might be some other uses, but the appendix is not a useless organ. Now, can people live well without their appendix? Can they live well without their wisdom teeth? Yes, they can. But it doesn't mean it's useless. There's a lot of discussions on chins. Why do we have a chin? What does that do? Well, I think it does help us with facial expression. I think our chins do provide support. I think it also provides protection when you hit your mouth. I think the chin protects your teeth. How many times have I fallen on my chin, but I haven't cracked a tooth? So we do believe that the chin has a purpose in terms of protecting your teeth. You got to think back to caveman days. If you didn't have your teeth, there were no dentures. You would have a tough time eating and shearing into meat and fish and vegetables and nuts. So your body had to somehow protect you and the ability to eat. And that's what I think the chin does. Some people also think that the chin might help in terms of sexual prowess and attraction, where some people might want the broader chin versus a milder, pointy one, so it might be useful in that. But I really think its purpose is to help the blow and redistribute energy that could be causing your jaw to crumble in terms of facial trauma. That's how I feel. Chin does. Now, what about male nipples? I think they have a purpose. So male nipples happen because as you are growing as an embryo, before the chromosome starts branching out, causing your male body organs to start develop, the mammary part of your development has already been done. And so the embryonic development, I think this is about it's the sex determining gene, the SRY prime on the Y chromosome. That starts, I believe, about the 6th week of pregnancy, developing your male reproductive organs. But your mammary gland tissue and nipples, because by default you're a woman until the Y chromosome triggers the male growth. The mammary part is there. Now, why would God or nature do that? If you're going to become a male, why waste energy? Why waste resources on nipples and mammary tissue? Well, technically, males have mammary tissue. And if, God forbid, it's a famine, or men have the ability. It's going to be really hard, especially if they don't have the proper hormones. But it does allow there to be a framework in case they do need to produce milk. That's not, though, my thinking in terms of what the nipples are for. I think the nipples are for sex. Not so much for stimulation, but because you know how women's breasts are round and they kind of like stop you. We spoke about how the roundness in the human bodies will tell somebody, whoa, stop. And then you got the triangle, right, of our pubic area. And then it kind of tells you this is where you go, so you have the stop and you got the arrows, kind of like traffic signs. With men, same thing. In the caveman days and in terms of, species trying to find mates, all right, a chest has to be attractive for some. For me, it's a biggie. I mean, when I'm looking at a guy, I'm at eye level of their chest. I don't always look at their waist and below. And so one way to stop a potential mate, and have them look at you is, again, the circles, the contrast. If you just had kind of a flat chest or wall, you couldn't see. Now, somebody would say, well, why? I mean, obviously, if somebody had a chest, whether they had nipples or not, you don't remember. People get nearsighted, farsighted. Now, sometimes you can't tell the difference between a dude and a wall, especially if their jokes aren't funny. So I think the nipples are a attraction to and a contrast to remind you, wait, stop. There's a man here. Look down. There's also some arrows sometimes, and then even more, shall we say, appendages that point in certain directions. And you're like, oh, okay. So I guess that is who I'm supposed to propagate and propagate the species with. So I think there's a lot of body parts we have. Look at our rudimentary tail, our coccyx. So maybe our forefathers and mothers and our previous ancestors had tails in evolution. Why wouldn't that just go away? Why would we have it in a curve? Well, because it does provide support. It provides protection, especially now that we are bipedal and we don't walk on our hands and feet. So it provides some extra support, protection, ligaments attach. So the coccyx does have a purpose. I think I really find, I'm going to be really hard pressed to believe anybody that a certain part of our body is useless. Okay. Now, I think a unibrow. I'm tired of plucking my eyebrows. I would like to know why sometimes we have to have eyebrow here I don't have it as much anymore, but boy, did I have to do a lot of plucking. I'd like to know why that has to happen. Maybe it's to protect the eyes. I mean, I have lived in the sun most of my life. I've lived in sunnier climates. Maybe you need thicker eyebrows to protect your eyes as like shade. I don't like wearing hats. I'm not a big hat wearer. Our lips have purpose. I can't think of anything that doesn't have purpose. Or nails have purpose. Let me see. In fact, there's a list here of body parts that are supposed to be vestigial. Hold on a second. Wait, I found it and I want to find it again. Your plica semilunaris, your third eyelid remnant. You got a small fold of tissue in the inner corner. I think with animals they call it third eye, where it's that piece of tissue in the eyelid. They say it's a small fold of tissue, and it's a vestige of the nictitating membrane. No longer a functional eyelid, it does support eyeball rotation and helps with tear drainage. I never had any problem with plica semilunaris. As far as I'm concerned, with a name like that, it's probably useful. Your erector pili muscles and goosebumps. People think your goosebumps and the piloerection that creates the goosebumps don't have a role. I think they do. Goosebumps increase the surface area of your body. It also helps bring the hair. So if you need to, in terms of temperature, in terms of increasing your surface area, in terms of getting the hair out to provide warmth, I think goosebumps do have a reason, a purpose. It's a reflex. They said it would allow our ancestors to trap heat and to be more furry. Again, something I necessarily don't need. So I'm good with that. Your palmaris longus muscle. It's a muscle in the forearm that 14% of us don't have. All right, but it still is in the arm. So anyway, I hope I taught you guys something. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI, We have just found out that a Texas doctor has been decapitated by an elevator at a hospital. Hitoshi Nakaido, 35 years old, was entering a second-floor elevator at St. Joseph Hospital in Houston, Texas. The door somehow abruptly closed, trapped his shoulders, and his head was severed as the elevator ascended. A hospital employee was inside the elevator and watched this happen. The doctor was a surgical resident. The elevator was stuck, and so she was with the body, couldn't really do much in terms of performing medical care for 20 minutes until firefighters could rescue her and try to approach the victim. According to a hospital spokesperson, India Chimney Hancock was the woman who witnessed the terrifying incident. And they're now looking at what happened. The police reported that maintenance crews had serviced the elevator earlier in the week. The entire bank of elevators has been shut down. Dr. Nakaido originally was from Japan. He moved to Connecticut with his family during childhood, graduated from the University of Texas Houston Medical School in June 2003, following his father's path into a field of surgery. Wow. They think a single extra wire in elevator 14 was the cause of the tragic accident. Just horrible. They say if the elevator's configuration had been correct, only one wire, not two, would have been connected to one of the controller studs in the elevator control system. This would have allowed the sensors to work correctly and the victim would have been released unharmed. However, the misaligned wire, which was deemed the primary cause of his death, was just one of several instances of negligent maintenance on elevator 14. This is according to the investigator. They also found at least a staggering 22 code violations. The hospital is owned by Christus Health, or was owned until 2006 when the firm sold it. They said they could not afford to update the aging buildings. It was sold to North Carolina-based Hospital Partners of America. Then in 2011, a Tennessee-based company, Lassus Healthcare, and its firm merged to Steward Healthcare in 2017. But, whoa, I guess 1 in 12 million elevator rides experience a problem. But usually, I've had elevator doors close on me all the time. Because like an idiot, I try to jump on an elevator because I don't want to wait. And luckily, it bangs against my shoulders and opens up. This time it clamped down. So my recommendation to all of you is, if you haven't been aware, elevators can kill you. And even though movies have dramatized the, people being killed in elevators and holding somebody's tie and letting the elevator do its work on their head, and God forbid anything like that should happen in real life. I would not rush into an elevator. Wait. And I stick my hand in, which I don't think I should, but I would make sure somebody holds the door open. Another thing that I think really stinks is people will hit the closed door. They'll pretend like they're opening the door for you, like they're trying to hit the button, like, oh no, oh, and then the door's closed and then they don't have to wait. Everybody's in a rush, and that's happened to me, where they pretended like they were hitting the right button, but they hit the wrong button, so the door closed quickly. I would really use these elevators with caution, because you have no idea how decrepit a building could be and what screw-ups could be done, unfortunately. Wow, scary, scary, scary event. There might be some good news for American families. You know how I discussed, and many other people have suggested, that Doge checks should maybe come back, so we should be getting some refunds back in terms of the money we spent on taxes? Well, Republican Senator Josh Hawley is working with President Donald Trump on tariff rebate checks. Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, has proposed legislation to provide tariff rebate checks to families similar to stimulus checks. The amount received would vary by family, but be about $600 per adult and child, totaling about $2,400 for a family of four. Trump said, we're thinking about a little rebate, he told reporters. He said, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt, but we're thinking about a rebate. I think that's important. And I get what Trump wants to do. He wants to buy down the debt. He wants us to stop overpaying, and he wants to bring in money to buy down the debt. I get that. And it should happen. But if you want voters to have some skin in the game, if you want voters to be engaged, we don't want to buy people or bribe people. But if everybody is listening to these critics saying, oh, tariffs are going to hurt us and the economy is going to implode and all this bad stuff is going to happen, when they see that means money back in their pockets, they're going to be a little bit more supportive of your work. Same thing with the Doge cuts, finding waste, fraud, and abuse. I think just our normal sentiment should be, let's find waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm tired of my money going to BS. But getting some of that money back that was wasted, I got to tell you, that really engages us. So if the federal government is bringing in more money, in fact, the Treasury Department announced that through July, tariffs brought in $28 billion. That was $1 billion higher than all of June's tariff revenue. Brings the total revenue generated by duties for the year, they say, to about $150 billion. Now, we still may see prices rise because countries may want to pass it on. But if people say, no, you know what? I'm not going to pay more for a Japanese car then. I'll buy a non-Japanese car if they're going to raise the prices. They might not raise the prices. Consumers have to take a stand. Hawley's program still needs to be passed by Congress. Would be set up as a refundable tax credit with the government sending checks this year. Should it become law? That would be pretty cool. Now, you know, I think the issue we have is we've wasted so much money that when you tell us you saved our money, you know, just it's like when somebody says the government is spending all this money. It sucks, but I go about my day. I feel like there's nothing I could do. You got to get the taxpayer involved. Now, they could vote, but every time they vote, I have voted ever since the 90s, and Congress still spends a bunch of money. So get us involved. Get us some skin in the game. We already have skin in the game paying for taxes, but if we see some money come back, I got to tell you, that's huge. Because there's an election coming up, the midterms. And then also, you got the 2028 election. And again, we don't want to bribe anybody. But if you feel like this Doge and tariff issue that it seems like the Trump administration has been successful on allows you to feel some of that success and promises kept, and you feel the promises are kept because you saw it come back to you, I think people are going to be more engaged. And that's important. You know, we're watching the EPA reevaluate these Obama-era regulations for climate change and climate and what hurts the climate, which is now costing the consumer so much money because they have to, you know, now consider electric vehicles or, you know, all these different mandates that companies have to do, and consumers are paying more for it. Has the science been tested and true? Do we know that we're not making things worse? The idea of wind farms sounded cool. Great, use wind. We always have wind. But if wind farms are hurting the environment, hey, we need to be careful about what we're recommending. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners, I guess, got the cold shoulder on telemedicine when the provider found out that they were not vaccinated, right, for a certain illness. And we have a lot of people who are concerned about vaccines. And I think somebody who wants to educate themselves before they inject themselves I think that's totally fine. You have every right to educate yourself and be aware of the risks versus benefits. You should not be biased and discriminated against by any provider. But I'm wondering if this is what happened. So basically, the listener had cut themselves. And they just wanted to be treated online. And for the cut, like with antibiotics, and they were just going to wrap it with Band-Aids, etc. And the provider asked if they were vaccinated for tetanus. And the person says, I don't believe in vaccines. No, I'm not vaccinated for tetanus. So the doctor says, look, because I can't manage you because you could have tetanus, I have to refer you, go and get seen. Now, was that the cold shoulder? And again, I wasn't there to listen to hear. I mean, if he was like, oh, well then, screw you, see ya. But if his response was, look, because you are vulnerable to tetanus, we want to make sure you're protected. We want your wound cleaned. We want the wound repaired. We do recommend you get seen in person. Then it's he said, she said, whether it's discriminatory, bias, etc. But there are things that medical providers are taking on liability for that they have to be very, very careful of. Now, generally, doctors do not get in trouble if you have a vaccine side effect. because we know that vaccines have side effects, nobody would recommend them if they thought they could get sued. So the government takes on that sort of protection, or shoulders that responsibility, even though many individuals say they're not feeling like they're getting anywhere with the government when they do report a vaccine-related side effect on the VAERS. But, if something has side effects, many medical providers will say, well, let's stop and think about this. That's what kind of happened with the Paxlovid and COVID. When Paxlovid, the antiviral, came out for COVID, I read to you all some of the side effects, and there's a lot of drug interactions. Well, many providers didn't want to get in trouble if they recommended that and it interacted with one of your medications. Then telemedicine companies at first didn't prescribe the medicine because, again, they didn't know how to handle the liability. Then some telemedicine companies said, look, we will if you're comfortable with it, but we're going to provide some strict guidelines. If you don't know their kidney status and you don't know what dosing to give based on their kidney status, refer them. So the liability issue is one that I think drives more of what's happening between doctors and patients as opposed to bias and discrimination. And that's a concern because the liability concerns and the cover your butt, CYA, attitudes could look discriminatory. Remember, there were doctors that were turning away patients if they didn't get the COVID vaccine in the South. Well, a good number of individuals who didn't get the COVID vaccine were black individuals who didn't feel that their population was represented in the testing. And they were worried, and they had every right to be, very justified, based on the Tuskegee experiments and other things that happened where black individuals were subjected to things that were not safe. So now we have a COVID vaccine, and people are being not allowed into restaurants, not allowed to work. In fact, I had a nurse, a black nurse, who had injured her ankle. And I asked her if she needed a work note so she didn't have to go in, so she could go and get x-rayed. And she said, no, I lost my job. I go, why? What happened? She said, I didn't get the COVID vaccine. Yet my white nurse friend still gets to keep her job. She got the vaccine. And so you saw a lot of individuals, even though it was all about who got the vaccine and didn't, according to the employer, if they didn't understand that certain communities didn't feel that the testing and the studies represented them, they ended up getting biased against. So these are secondarily. So we really have to be careful in medicine. The problem is doctors are not really allowed to say, I could get sued. Sorry, I could get sued. Sorry, I could get sued. You could sue me. Sorry. They can't say that. They're not supposed to. I mean, in fact, I remember, training under a doctor who said, look, I know you won't sue me, but your family will. Because the patient would say, look, I know you can't do this, doctor, but I promise you I won't sue you. They're like, yeah, but if anything happens to you, your family will. And I have no protection. So a lot of what is happening in medicine still goes back to lawsuits. One of my listeners was upset because she got bit by a dog. It was her neighbor's dog. And she was not able to get treated online. They sent her to the hospital in case she had rabies. And she's like, I don't have rabies. That was ridiculous. But if the doctor is wrong and you were exposed to rabies, that doctor's dead in the water. And so are you. You get bit by a neighbor's dog. You call up the neighbor and say, look, your dog bit me. Are their shots up to date? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they have all their shots. They're good. Can I see the vaccination record? I mean, your dog was obviously aggressive. How do I know the dog wasn't aggressive because of rabies? Oh, it's fine. He goes to the vet on the corner. He's fine. How do you know? How do you know the vaccine took? So I understand people are really, really frustrated. But there's, so there's many individuals that really dislike cosmetic surgeons because cosmetic surgeons will not do surgery on you if you smoke. Why not? Well, because if smokers struggle with having good skin, collagen, and surgical outcomes, they don't want to be in trouble for a bad surgical outcome. And I remember in the 2000s, it was if you would, and it might still be that way. If you smoke, they're not going to operate on you. They'll tell you to take your 25 or 50 grand and go somewhere else. They're that concerned of a lawsuit. Now, is it that they're anti-smoker? Well, secondarily, it might look like that. But again, they need to show that they're having a good outcome. So you have the right to make choices. I told you, I'm pro pediatric vaccines. I want, kids to have access to vaccines and protect them against polio and pneumonia and meningitis. But I would not turn away any patient whose child didn't vaccinate. And I ended up getting so many patients because other pediatricians would not let that kid enter the building. And I'm like, you're not taking care of this kid? See, to me, that would be liability there. You turning away a patient when it wasn't their choice to not vaccinate. Take care of the child. They're sick. Even if the vaccine had nothing to do with their ear infection or their strep throat. Why? Well, because the attitude was, well, you're going to infect other people. If you didn't get the polio vaccine, you're going to give my other patients polio. Just like with COVID. That was the same thinking they were trying to say. If we didn't get our COVID vaccine, we're going to give other people COVID. You could still give other people COVID even if you're vaccinated. So, have an honest conversation with your medical provider, but understand, certain telemedicine things are actions are limited based on liability. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.